Hi,
Hello,
it's Debbie and
Brianna.
and we're here today. This is another video in the Cue the Cues series. So it's the hashtag Cue the Cues, and you can find it on Yoga Girl's blog or just by searching that hashtag. It's just a series of videos that we're trying to help dispel some of the language behind yoga teaching. You know, we as teachers say a lot of cues in one class, and so some of them may not be as clear. The one we're choosing today, because today's Valentine's
Happy
Day,
Valentine's Day.
is that one that you hear, open your heart, or open your heart center.
Yeah, so we're just gonna go through some really basic postures Debbie's gonna demonstrate here. With just sort of opening up that space around the heart. So a lot of times we spend a lot of our day sort of like this, you know, whether we're texting or whether we're typing or any other driving, you know, anything like that. So it can be really important for us physically and emotionally to kind of counter that, you know, to really open up this space, to open up the shoulders and the front of the body. And maybe you wanted to talk more about just sort of your own personal experience with heart center stuff and heart opening.
Yeah. It really is a cue that has both physiological and emotional aspects to it, right? The center of our body. In fact, the heart became known for love. I read this recently that back in the Greek Roman days, they didn't really even know about the brain yet. They thought that all of our emotions and all of our thinking and stuff was done from our heart. So it just it started then, and we've kept it that way. And it really is a spot that when you find more opening, as Brianna knows, there's places in our bodies where we store emotions. Our hips, our heart center is one, our shoulders, we store tension up here in our neck and shoulders. So in our heart center, I was telling Brianna, when I began a really regular yoga practice was at the same time I was going through a divorce. So it's definitely a part of at least in my path, I felt like I was trying to find a place of solitude and of like grounding. And so I even sought out particular classes that didn't involve opening my heart, or that didn't have that cue as much, or that felt safer for me in that way. So always honor your body and your life story in the moment, and find a class and a teacher and a format that speaks to you. Because I eventually did find my way, of course, time, you know, and I did cry in a lot of shavasanas.
Totally normal.
Yeah. I was thinking that those people at those studios saw me a lot of tears, but they eventually stopped. I remember thinking, is this going to stop? It's been like how long is this going to happen? But eventually did. So I just wanted to point that out. I know it makes this probably a little lengthy, but I wanted you to know that take the cues that work for you in a class too. Always, we are just trying, to give them like alignment ideals. But we're all built differently. If you looked at the insides of us, our hips are different, our bone structure, everything's unique. So yeah, this cue though is intended to give you more space for your lungs, more capacity for your sternum, and like Brianna said, it's really lately more about opening up the front side of our bodies that we tend to be closing off a lot.
Yeah, so I think what Debbie just said is just so important. You know, take what works for you and leave the rest, and don't feel guilty about that, right? It's always important to do what works for your body. We're all built so differently. So, you know, what feels good to me or to Debbie, or what makes sense to me or Debbie, might not make as much sense to you. So take what you need, leave the rest. So I'm going to have Debbie start out right where she is. She's going to be sitting onto her shins here, on her heels. And, you know, if this doesn't feel so comfortable for you, you can also grab a block or maybe a blanket and just sit your knees on that, or the block you can place right in between your feet. That's a really good option. So she's going to interlace her hands behind her back. She's going to start to roll the shoulders down and away from the ears. Now I want her to check out the pelvis here. Make sure that it's at a nice neutral tilt. So if we kind of stick that booty out, way out.
Which is what I did.
Yeah, which is what what we all do when we do this. It can go into that low back area, which is not where we want it. We want to open up this front, the front of the heart. So just make sure it's at a neutral tilt if you can. And then she's going to drop her chin all the way down to her chest. And she's going to keep rolling these shoulders away from the ears. Beautiful. And then when she's ready to come out of it, she's going to lead with her heart. So she's going to start to roll up the spine, gently release her hands. And then I like to just kind of place my hands in my lap after something like that. Either palms up or down, doesn't really matter, whatever you're feeling. And just take a couple deep breaths in silence and stillness. Breathing into whatever that might open up for you. Maybe it's feelings of energy or good feelings. And maybe it sort of opens up, some emotions that are in there somewhere. Breathing into it all. And then next I'm going to have Debbie, come into a tabletop position. So hands and knees. She's going to make sure that her wrists are right underneath her shoulders, her knees are right underneath the hips. She's going to move through some cat and cow motion. So as she inhales, she's going to drop the belly, stick the butt back, and lift the heart, lift the gaze. As she exhales, she's going to really press the floor away from her, get this mid back up as high as she can, and then pause here and just kind of shift back and forth a couple of times. Yeah, perfect. You can do side to side action if that feels better for you. Warming up that spine. Yeah, get in there. On your next inhale, come forward into that cow pose again, dropping the belly, lifting the heart and the gaze. Keep pulling the wrists back towards your knees to keep the core active. And then as you exhale, round again, chin to chest, puff up the back of the heart. Go ahead and return to your neutral spine. And then bring your right foot forward inside your right hand. And you can help it along with your hand if you need to, if it doesn't make it all the way up there the first try. So she's going to bring her hands to her hips. Once again, neutral tilt to the pelvis here. And then she's going to reach her arms up by the ears, getting really, really tall. Her pinky fingers are spiraling in a little bit here. She's keeping a lot of energy in her arms. You can see that she's really reaching towards the sky. So I'm going to have you take another inhale. And an exhale. Next time you inhale, start to back out of the stretch a little bit. So pull these hips back just a touch. Exhale, sink into that hip flexor again. Beautiful. Stay here for the inhale. As you exhale, bring your palms to touch overhead. Steeple your index fingers. Keep reaching up. And then start to just trace the sky with those index fingers. So this might be a really, really small movement where she's starting to lift the heart up. If you have more space in your back, it might be a more dramatic movement, but either one is good. You're getting the same stretch. Just depends on what works for your body. Beautiful. Take one more full round of breath here if you can. And then slowly bring your hands down to frame your front foot. Step back into your tabletop again. And then we'll do the other side, or you can drop. Yeah, always got to even yourself out, right? Let's do a round of cat-cow in between, just to kind of reset that spine a little bit. And then when you're ready, come down to that neutral spine, bring the left foot forward inside the left hand. Nice neutral tilt to the pelvis, bring your hands to your hips. And then reach straight up out of the hips. So when you bring your hands to your hips like that, you want to kind of make sure that the hips are even. So we're not dumping into one side or the other. The hip points are basically in the same plane. And once again, you see how much energy she's got going on here. She's really lifting straight up out of the torso. And your next inhale, start to back out of the stretch a little bit. Back the hips up. And exhale, sink into that hip flexor again. Just going to inhale here. And then exhale, bring her palms to touch overhead. Steeple the index fingers. Make space for your spine and for the opening. So reach as tall as you can. And then just gently start to trace the sky. Maybe the gaze follows, maybe not. Whatever works for you today. Beautiful. And you see she's keeping her front ankle right underneath her front knee too. This is really important in this posture. Protect that knee. Go ahead and bring your hands down to the earth when you're ready. Step back into your tabletop. Bring your big toes to touch behind you. Open the knees out wide. Sink the hips back to the heels. Child's pose. She's floating the ears right between her biceps. Heels are reaching down towards the earth. Yours might not make it all the way there. Depends on how much space you've got. Nice long spine. That's super important in down dog. Make your way up to the front of your mat. You can step or you can hop if you'd like, or dance along your way. Yeah, perfect.
I'm gonna dance. I'm dancing next time.
And fold.
Oh, this is my first forward fold of the day.
They're always a little bit getting in there, right?
Yeah, my hamstrings are
tight today.
They are, period.
Are they?
Yeah.
So let's just take a ragdoll forward fold then. Grab opposite elbows here and really almost kind of unplug your shoulders. So let the weight of that shoulder area just kind of sink you deeper into the pose. You can have a generous bend in your knees if you want, especially if you've got tighter hamstrings. It's a great option. A lot of times I do that. You can kind of get into that spine more. And then when you're ready, go ahead and release the fingertips down to the earth. On an inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Beautiful. And bow on your exhale. This time as you inhale, circle sweep the arms all the way up. Get really, really tall.
I can touch the ceiling.
Yeah. And exhale, slide your hands down to heart center. Gorgeous.
You're so cute. Heart center.
Heart center. Yeah.
I like to rest my thumbs on my sternum.
Really feel that
I feel like
heartbeat.
you're touching it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And she's just gonna hang out here. Press your palms together. Feel all the sensations that are going on right now, continuing to breathe into them. And I'm gonna have her interlace her fingers behind her back again. If this doesn't work so well for you, you can grab opposite elbows behind your back. Once again, that's basically the same stretch. You're still getting that shoulder rolling, opening action. So whichever feels better. Check out the pelvis, make sure it's nice and neutral. She's gonna roll her shoulders down and away from the ears again. Lift the middle of the heart up, like you've got a pencil between your shoulder blades here, and it's your job to keep it there. Keep squeezing those shoulder blades together. And then bring your clasp to your right hip. And let your left ear drop to your left shoulder. Yeah, just like that, perfect. And you can either stay with your arms straight like this, or she can bend her elbows and bring them actually up to her hip point here. It's whichever feels better always. Let the chin fall down to the chest. Move your clasp to the other side. So again, bend elbows, or you can straighten it out. And then rock that right ear to the right shoulder. Keep the shoulder blades rolling in and down the spine. You've got that pencil still, squeezing it tightly. Rock your chin down to your chest again. Bring your hands back to center. Release your clasp. Let's take just one more half sun salutation. So inhale, arms rise, get tall. Exhale, dive forward, forward folds. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, bow. Inhale, arms circle sweep up to the sky, get tall. Exhale, slide your hands down to heart center. Again, touching your thumbs to your sternum. Feel that heartbeat. Feel all the sensations that are happening inside. And then slowly release your arms by your sides. And breathe. Good job. Yeah, okay.
Heart to heart.
Hug to heart.
Thank you for watching.